Breaking into advertising can be slow. It can be confusing, especially in your 20s. There's a lot of pressure on building your portfolio, winning awards, and I'll be honest, I might have propelled that narrative along the way. But today, we have a very special guest for you all. It is the global CCO of Wieden+Kennedy, one of the best agencies of all time, working with Nike and working with McDonald's. Karl is the CCO for the global shop, but lives in New York City. And I bring this up, what I said in the intro here, because he struggled to break in, working on his portfolio in his 20s. He's going to talk through how he broke in, his best advice for you all now, and what he's up to today, leading one of the most iconic shops in advertising. Ladies and gentlemen, Karl Lieberman. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Ellie. Karl Lieberman, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
Really good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming to our office. It's so hot out today. It means so much to us. You are an icon. You're a legend in this industry as the global CCO for Wieden+Kennedy. What a name. You guys were, was it Creative Agency of the Year by Ad Age?
Yeah.
And I saw you at the gala. That's how we
that's
met.
where we first met. Yep.
That's right. And such a pleasure to have you on. How you feeling?
I feel great. It's awesome to be here in your lovely office.
It's beautiful.
Really cool. Yeah.
It's beautiful, right?
Incredible views.
Probably right. There's no windows in this office, just to let everybody know. But what do we want to get out of this today? I know I want to learn about your story, how you broke into this business, and your best advice for the next generation. That's like tier one, what I want to get out of this. Is there anything that you've done or you have not said on podcast, stories that you want to get out there? Do you have some stuff top of mind that we'll talk about today?
Sure. I was, I've done a handful of podcasts, and what I thought might be helpful, and I don't even know if it's super relevant at this point because I'm getting up there in years, but like I thought maybe focusing more on like my 20s.
Your 20s
could be helpful.
Why your 20s? Why not your 30s?
Well, by the time I was 30, I kind of like was, I think, relatively established.
Mm-hmm.
I started at Wieden right before I turned 30. But like the early to mid 20s in advertising is tough. It's a slog.
It is a slog, and it's confusing. It's hard to get in there, and then you get in there, it doesn't start right away. It takes some people a couple of years to like sell their first spot potentially. So we'll definitely hover over there in your 20s and what you did and what you would recommend for the 20-year-olds that are listening to this today.
Great.
Cool. That's great to know. But outside of all of that, outside of advertising, what do you like to do outside of work?
Well, I am a husband and a dad, so that takes up a lot of my time. I've got two wonderful kids. My daughter's entering her senior year of high school.
Nice.
My son's about to go into 8th grade, and so that's a lot of my time.
Is she thinking about colleges?
Yes. We just toured colleges, which is cool and very surreal experience. It's pretty awesome though, like to go back and like I guess they are kind of interesting little time capsules because you're like, oh wow, this feels like I'm 47, and like this feels like 30 years ago.
Yeah, and do those schools that you're touring, do they have an advertising major? Is she going to be choosing marketing, advertising, creative communications for an undergrad?
She is a writer.
Copywriter alert.
She's also very interested in women's studies.
Nice.
And yeah, she's a really talented, great writer. She doesn't seem to have a lot of interest in advertising, but she doesn't. I don't think she has any issues with it.
Would you steer her that route, knowing what you know now?
No, I don't. My folks were really great in that they tried to steer us into what we were interested in versus trying to get us to repeat what they did.
Yeah.
My dad was a doctor. He actually kind of steered. Not that I could have ever been a doctor. Like, I could barely get out of school, but like, he was always like, no, don't be a doctor. It's terrible.
Yeah, I feel like the parents have like this natural inclination, at least with my parents, like, don't do what I do.
Right.
Like, do something else. Like my dad was a guidance counselor, and I thought that was really admirable, like to be like steering people in the right direction, helping them navigate college and getting them to graduate high school. And he's like, nah, don't do that. Not worth it. Like, I'm like, okay, whatever you say.
But that's like a very noble calling. Hopefully
he squandered that. But now I try to help people with their careers and like getting their first job.
Yeah, and that's interesting. In a sense, you're doing a similar thing, but in a completely different way.
Yeah. So that's great. Then what is your role today? Let's unpack that. Like, what are you in charge of at Wieden+Kennedy?
So I'm the global chief creative officer. I partner with our CEO, Neil Arthur, and the two of us run the company.
Mm-hmm.
And it is there's about 1,500 people. 10 or so offices, hubs, all around the world. And yeah, we're in charge of evolving and growing the agency and hopefully keeping the doors open.
Do you still get into the nitty gritty of the work?
For sure. Yeah. We really encourage our creative leadership at every level to, contribute to the work and not to be like a figurehead, not to be sort of like a industry pontificator, but to like be someone who like really gets in and does things. And what's cool about Wieden is that the kind of, depending where you are on the org chart, you can always move up and down. So if you're a CCO running an office, you can still CD something, you can still write, art direct something.
Yeah.
Like we encourage that because we want people to know that like that for us, you never are kind of lost into this like a abyss of corporate bureaucracy that the place is built around the best people, and we don't want the best people then getting kind of like some desk job where they're talking about budgets and stuff all the time. We always want them contributing to the work.
I like that. So I think a lot of our listeners understand, or at least have heard of Wieden+Kennedy. I'm assuming this episode as well is going to bring in some new people that want to learn more about you and about like what is the show and all that. So I want to do a little rapid fire segment here, and we can then, when we're done with the rapid fire, we can double tap on some of these things. But how does that sound? It's really about the agency itself here. In this
okay, great.
Great. So in a sentence or two, how do you explain what Wieden+Kennedy does best?
Well, we are a creatively led company, and the whole thing is structured around that. So most offices and accounts have 2 creative leaders and 1 business person. And Dan did that with the idea that the creatives could always outvote the business person. And in offices and accounts where we are one-on-one, like me and Neil, the creative person gets 2 votes.
Really? Interesting.
So yeah, the whole thing is trying to build around what is best for the work and for creativity.
Got it. So I was going to call you out because I feel like that could be a cop-out answer. A lot of agencies say it's about creativity, but then you backed it up with the structure and the voting systems internally, which I love. So are you independent or part of a holding company, and how does that shape how you guys work?
We are very independent. We have never sold to a holding company and never can sell. It's actually part of the bylaws of the company. And that was the way Dan left it, was that we legally can never be sold.
I love that. I'm sure, I don't think there's any other agencies like that. Like, I'll have to look into that, but I've never heard that before in 500 episodes of recording. It's so interesting. You have to be independent.
Yes, it's a crazy thing. So when Dan passed away a couple of years ago, the company was actually moved out of his ownership and into a trust. And so technically no one owns Wieden+Kennedy.
Not possible. If I wanted to come buy it, I couldn't even.
Yes, we've had people come and ask if they could buy it. We've had we had someone recently go like, how much do you cost? And we're like, oh no, sorry, like even if I wanted to, I can't legally. I'm contractually obliged to not be able to sell it. And they were like, well, that's stupid. And I was like, well, I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
But
why do you think that is awesome though?
Well, I think that independence is really everything. When I was younger, when I first started at the agency, Dan Wieden talked a lot about the importance of independence, and I didn't quite understand it. Having grown up in holding company agencies myself, I didn't really quite understand the distinction. But as I've worked at Wieden+Kennedy for longer, I have seen that it is really valuable not to have shareholders, not to be part of a holding company, because we have a lot of autonomy and we can make decisions based on what's best for the long term of the agency. Versus, I think, public traded companies, you're kind of working quarter to quarter to have the best results each quarter, so your stock price stays good.
Earnings calls.
Totally. So we don't have to do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
We're privately held, and so we are hopefully, when we're doing our jobs right, making decisions that are best for the long-term health of the company, and then doing what's best for the work. So like, we don't have to take on clients that we might, be like, well, we're not sure if they're going to do something interesting in order to get the revenue. We can do what we think is best for our company and our brand.
I love that. Yeah, I love how you're putting, there's a lot of emphasis on the agency brand here in this conversation, which is really great. So who are some of the clients that you guys are working with to build their brand up?
So we started with Nike, which we still have. We have McDonald's and Ford are a couple of our big clients. We have a bunch of Anheuser-Busch brands. Mm-hmm. So we do Ultra here in the U.S., Corona globally, and we do some work on Anheuser-Busch brand. We have Heinz in the U.S. and in London. So yeah, we have a bunch of clients, but those are kind of our biggest and our most like global ones that we have.
Those are some legit clients. Those are some great clients.
We're really lucky, and it's a lot of stuff. Like for me, like stuff that I personally have like always been super interested in. It's pretty great to be able to work in sports and burgers and cars and beer and ketchup.
Ketchup is probably my favorite of that list right there. I can't go without it, and it's got to be Heinz. So, where are you guys headquartered, and where are the other offices and hubs?
So we're headquartered in Portland, Oregon, and that was where the company started. And then we have offices all over the place. The bulk of our employees are in the U.S. between Portland and New York. Then we have offices in Amsterdam, London, Shanghai, Tokyo, Mexico City, Sao Paulo. And we recently opened offices in Toronto and Australia.
Congrats. You're all over. And fair to say, one of the largest independent agencies, like networks?
I think we are.
You're up there?
It's like 1,500 people. I think we're the largest independent agency.
That's incredible. What is like a campaign recent project that you think captures the ethos of Wieden+Kennedy? Maybe something recent that happened.
Sure. I've always loved the Nike work, and that was what my first job is at Wieden was as a copywriter on Nike.
Did you work with Hal Curtis?
Yes.
I've had him on the show, and that was like a great episode.
He's awesome. He taught me a lot about how to creative direct just from working under him and then working alongside him. And then his son actually works in Portland now, and he's a super talented writer.
Oh, nice. At the Wieden office?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Will. He's really great. Funny dude.
Sorry to interrupt. So you're talking about Nike?
Yes. Yeah. So I think that we've been doing a lot of really interesting stuff for them, but one of the more recents was the So Win work for the Super Bowl, which I really liked. I thought it was quintessential Nike in that they took a moment and used it in a different, interesting way. They had a really strong point of view. It had a very, lean way of just blunt way of putting the point of view out in the world, which I really loved.
And this was the first. It was since 1998, I believe, the last Nike Super Bowl commercial ran around there.
Yes, yeah. Nike doesn't usually do Super Bowl, and I don't love doing Super Bowl. I'm a huge football fan.
Yeah,
and Super Bowl can kind of ruin your life.
You're saying as a advertising professional, you might not love.
Yeah, I would love to never do a Super Bowl ad in my life. They're massively stressful and
everybody's watching. Everybody becomes a critic.
Got an opinion. Yep.
Everybody. Yeah.
But
you guys did well.
A really cool way to use the media there.
Did you guys win a grand the Super Clio?
I don't know.
Yes, you did. I'm gonna head shake. You did win the Super Clio. At least is my words, and we can fact check that.
That's great. Yes, we won the Super Clio,
which is what you care about most.
Yes. No. That's we love winning awards. I just don't like. I try to not use them as a way to determine whether or not what we did was good or not.
See, that might be my mindset in this early, like the younger talent, like perspective, where awards are critical for like getting that next promotion, getting noticed. Maybe I'm stuck in that mental trap. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Did you have that thought process when you were in your 20s?
I just didn't win any awards.
Oh, yeah. So you're like, screw them.
I don't think I won an award until I was like 28 or something. I think I won a bronze interactive one-show pencil, which I paid for with my own money because I was so excited. So I don't mean it remotely to be dismissive of awards in any way. It's just like they don't always get it right. And what's great about Wieden is like there's no none of our compensation is based around awards. So you don't, like in a lot of companies, the CCO is bonused on whether or not they win an award. And we don't do that. So because we want people to be excited about winning them, but they all right,
we got a note here.
We want our people to feel really good about winning them. We submit them because we understand it's important for people's careers.
Yes,
but we try to not make it a metric of success. And we have a bit of history around that. One year, Wieden did really well in Cannes. Won a whole bunch of awards. It was sort of like Old Spice and P&G Moms and a whole bunch of other work at Chrysler. And so got this huge haul of awards, and Susan Hoffman thought it would be funny to take them to an auto body shop and have them all spray painted different colors.
Okay.
And they looked actually pretty cool. Like they were bright pink and bright orange and stuff. But like I had just won my first ever gold film lion as a creative director.
Yeah, so you're feeling good. You got this gold lion now, and then Susan's like, "Let's go spray paint these things."
So I didn't go because I lived in Portland. I don't really like flying, and so I didn't go to Cannes to get it, but I did see them holding it in a picture, and then. I'm not really familiar with they all have different shapes that indicate the different categories. So I wasn't really familiar with that. But when it came back, the spray paint was so thick that it filled the writing on the award. So none of us knew whose awards were which.
So you don't even know what color yours is now.
I had to go tell Susan. I was like, totally get it. Like I get the subversive thing, and like it's just a little weird to win an award and like not know which one
which
it is.
Physical statue. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, and she's working in the Amsterdam office. We were talking about that. That's so great. She was like employee number 8.
Yeah, like something like that. Yeah,
very early on, since like the start.
And she still refers to herself as like a junior art director
on her LinkedIn, I believe. Yeah, I want to get her on too.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so. What are you guys focusing on, like building towards most? Like, what's the focus in your leadership in like the next couple of years? Where do you want to take this legacy, this Hall of Fame agency?
Well, and I don't know if this is entirely accurate, but the lore of the agency is that Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, went to Dan Wieden and David Kennedy and said, "I don't like advertising, but I think I need some," and that really informed the whole approach to the work and trying to make things that didn't feel like ads, because people inherently don't, are like Phil Knight, inherently don't really like advertising. I think over time we became pretty famous about the craft and quality of our television, and I think this last like 10, 15 years we've been really focused on making that philosophy bigger and apply to the whole parts of a brand. So not just their media buys, not just their TV, but everything down to, we say like everything down to the whole music. We try to have creative and interesting ideas for their products, for their uniforms, for their stores, for like how they communicate with the press, like even their leadership's speeches, conventions, things like that.
Yeah.
So we're trying to become, and we are on a lot of our accounts, but not all of them, basically just this like creative think tank that the client can come to us with sort of any challenges, any opportunities that they have, and get our perspective on how we might approach it.
I would love that. Yeah. As just show up, say, this is where we think our brand is. This is where we want to take it. And you guys kind of just get in there into the works here, and it seems like everything would be on the table in that situation.
Yeah. And so for a lot of clients, that is just how it works. For like McDonald's, we've come up with products like the Grimace Shake was based on this idea that there's a lot of fondness for nostalgia right now, and people remembered their having their birthdays at McDonald's. And so we actually we found out that you can order at most McDonald's, you can order a birthday sheet cake.
I remember that, of course.
You still can.
Yeah, it's got the little Ronald on it.
And so we were like, oh, that'd be cool to like start advertising this, because people have a lot of nostalgia for birthday parties in their youth. And like logistically, McDonald's like that idea, but like we can't be making sheet cakes.
Yeah, it's a whole supply chain.
So they were like, what else could you do? And so we came up with this idea of Grimace's birthday and the Grimace Shake, and we're able to go to them to be like, hey, we think it should be a shake. We think it should be a birthday celebration, and our only request is that it's purple. And so then their chefs got in there and figured that out. And
then some other stuff happened in culture with that. Like, what the heck was that about?
The Mets thing.
Yeah, it's like, no, like the people like.
Well, yes,
and like
which was cool.
The social media reactions, like after they were drinking a Grimace Shake, I think we all kind of can look, maybe repressed it, but like obviously you guys didn't pitch that. Just culture took.
No, that just happened.
Culture just took over.
But McDonald's was awesome about it.
Yeah,
I think some clients might freak out, but like, yeah, my daughter was like, "Have you seen these murder videos?"
Exactly
on TikTok. They're incredible, and yeah, testament to them that they were like, "Yeah, let's just roll with that thing."
I feel it's just like more fuel to the sales too, and they just brought back the snack wrap.
Yes,
that's a big deal.
Big deal. And they're delicious.
Did you guys bring the snack wrap back, or was that?
It was a collective decision, but we've been talking to them about it for a while. We do a lot of, we do their social, and anytime you see a McDonald's post, no matter what it's about, usually the first comment is "bring back the snack wrap." And so we
a little listening there.
We do a lot of our work around that. Like, we'll put something in social and see what sticks, and it kind of acts as a little bit of like data or informal testing. So like someone had written a tweet that said like, one day you got your final Happy Meal and you never even knew it.
Yeah.
And that thing just blew up.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people being like, wow, this is making me emotional. This thing. And so then we had that to be like, oh, this has traction. And then we came up with this idea of like, well, what if you could get a Happy Meal at any point in your life? And what if it became kind of this, like, instead of like a toy for kids, it became like a artist in residency approach.
Yeah.
So something that a grown up would want to have. But that came from just a tweet. And like, a lot of our work comes from just something that starts in social and then gets traction, and then we can build a whole program around that.
Absolutely. And like an adult Happy Meal of some sort there.
Yeah.
So that's great. So do you guys offer any internship programs or special opportunities for emerging talent?
We have a bunch. I have them written down.
Yeah, grab it. Yeah, I got my sheet too.
Okay. We have quite a few. That's why I had to have them written down. So the main thing is we're always trying to build like a really diverse pipeline in the agency, and that goes back to the days of even when I started Wieden. There was a thing called Wieden+Kennedy 12.
When did you start?
I started, when was that, 17 years ago? 2008. Yeah, 2008.
There's a recession then.
Just pre-recession.
Oh, pre-recession.
Yeah. So I started, and then the financial collapse happened.
And you stuck through. You made it through.
I made it through. Yeah. That was a crazy, scary time, because I had moved to Portland. I was 29. My wife and I had a 5-month-old daughter, and we we lived in New York at the time, and we lived in New Jersey in Hoboken. And so we moved across the country. When I started talking to Wieden, I had to look up whether it was Portland, Oregon or Portland, Maine. I didn't know.
Carl.
Which one was which? They both looked really nice.
Hey, yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah, we moved there. I had, and I think I've told this story before, so I'll keep it short, but like the part of the deal of me working at Wieden was that Susan Hoffman was one of the people who hired me. And I was a kind of a hybrid, mostly art director. And she said she would hire me if I switched from art direction to copywriting.
Crazy.
Which is probably a crazy thing for me to do at the time. But I was so like excited about the notion of working at Wieden+Kennedy. I was like, okay, I can figure this out. I can be a copywriter full time.
Why did she want you to do that?
She said I was a terrible art director.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Clean. Yeah.
She's like, you seem like a good writer and you're bad at art direction. So what if you just became a...
And how many years were you were 29 when this happened? So you were an art director.
Yeah, for almost a decade.
Almost a decade.
Yeah.
And then did anybody else give you signs that you were not a good art director, or was it just Susan?
I knew I was not very good at it. I'm not a great, especially the design part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really bad at that part. And honestly, I didn't really understand what art direction was until I became a copywriter. Because then I started working with real art directors. I was like, oh, that's what these guys are supposed to be doing.
Right.
And my first art director, first kind of longtime partner in Portland was Brian O'Rourke, who ultimately went on to run Nike, and now he has his own shop with Alberto Ponte. And he was incredible. I was like, I learned not just what art direction was from him, but what a copywriter needed to do.
Yeah, I mean that is a wild transition. We'll get more into that, but emerging programs for talent.
Oh, yeah.
12.
Sorry.
Let's get back to that. So it's all good.
Yes. Okay. So we've got three main ones. So in the New York office, there's a 3-month residency program. That's every summer. Residency is like a fancy name for interns, but it's geared towards people with backgrounds in advertising. The residents are integrated into the teams, so you'll be a resident on Ford or a resident on McDonald's or a resident on
every
Heinz.
Summer in New York residency program. Got it. And you said they're interested in advertising, so they are probably trained in art direction, copywriting strategy, some sort of vertical.
Yeah, and they get a housing stipend. They're paid hourly for the summer, and there's usually between 8 and 12 residents per summer.
How do you sign up for that? Because you just there's probably a website of some sort.
Some show notes or something.
Show notes there. I'm sure if you Google it.
So that's a cool thing. Then we have the Kennedys. That's a 6-month fully paid non-traditional apprenticeship. It's in most of our offices. I believe it started in Amsterdam. It's in most offices now, and it's made up of people from like different backgrounds and of varying ages. So it's a kind of a crash course for young and emerging talent who might not find their way into advertising otherwise. And that is basically an evolution of the Wieden+Kennedy 12 program, which was in Portland when I started.
Got it. So a little more like non-traditional background, and like I don't know how are you even finding these people if they're not interested in advertising? Maybe do you go to like high schools? Do you like how do you get the messaging around this program up there?
We usually try to recruit just in creative, interesting ways, in places where we think there will be creative, interesting people, but maybe not people who would like watch your show.
Yeah, our show. If you're watching this, you're probably not going to make the Kennedys because you love advertising. You want to break in really bad.
I was rejected from 12. I applied to Wieden+Kennedy 12 when I was in my mid-20s and I couldn't get in.
I was rejected from the Kennedys, I believe.
Yeah, great. So
which is great. You guys are doing the right thing. You did the right. If that's the ambition. Yeah, you did the right thing.
Yeah. Well, Jim Lasser was in the 12 program, and yeah, he was a lawyer prior to that.
So lawyer found the program, then converted into advertising.
He became an art director.
Now that you shocked me there because I've heard stories of people going pre-law, going to law school, and they go copywriting.
Yes.
To go from lawyer to art direction, that is interesting.
Yeah, we had he was a New York City lawyer. I think he was maybe a public defender who is now a creative director in our New York office.
That's so
we've
fun.
had a couple.
Do you get some like console help there? Like if you,
I'll ask him sometimes, but he's actually he's good. He's good for that stuff. He's also a huge NBA fan, so I also will ask him like if who's good or not sometimes.
Yeah.
So and then we also every year host the Ad Magic program, and that's for students from HBCUs. And we took the students to Portland this year and to Amsterdam in February, and then in New York City to close the year. And so that was founded by a charity who started in Portland and now is in Amsterdam. And that is, to create direct access and diversify to like all the different makers in the creative industry. So
wonderful. So it's like a rotational program in a way.
Yeah,
you're going through every office. Yeah.
About almost like 50 students come through that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And 97% of them have found creative roles after this.
Yeah.
That was the note we just got. And is that within Wieden or anywhere? Like it's just training them, which is great. I have issues with some of these portfolio schools taking like money and like the barriers to enter. So like the fact that you're training them. So it's not just an incubator for Wieden and Kennedy. It's an incubator for them to be successful in the industry, which I really like because I've seen agencies make their own little thing, and it's just for like our ways of working.
Well, we've tried. Yeah, we always have tried to not make a metric of success to be that you get hired at Wieden necessarily.
I'm sure they would want to, but
some people they stay and they like it and it feels like a good fit. But we want to be we want it for our talent, but we think it's important for the business in general to have access to those folks.
Love it. Okay, that was our agency rapid fire. That was not rapid, however, that's okay because it's good stuff here.
You could maybe, we could tape it again if you want me to.
No, all is good. I want to know how you broke in. Now, the name of the show is Breaking Entering, so this is the most important part, in my opinion. So, where were you when you first discovered advertising? What were you wearing? What'd you watch? Do you regret that decision? But I want to know about the actualization point in your brain where you're like, "This is the career for me," and then we'll get into how you broke into it.
Sure. So, when I was in high school, my older sister, Lucy, worked at this kind of like digital internet advertising marketing game company in Washington, D.C.
Game
called Magnet. And she and I are close. I lived in Delaware at the time, and my parents were cool enough to send me down on Amtrak to go visit her. And I would just go visit her and she would take me to work. And it was like a playground. Like they had music studios. They were making games. They had like free soda. I was like, this is crazy.
Fantastic.
And the web was really emerging at the time. And I was really interested in figuring out how to do web design. So when I started looking at schools, that's what I was looking to see if schools taught that. And there were a handful of kind of emerging programs, and the school I wanted to go to, American University, I didn't get into, and so I ended up going to University of Delaware, which has actually turned out to be really great. It was a really great experience, and their design kind of computery design program was in the fine arts program. So I actually went to school as a fine arts major, and the first week of school, they had the school had a advertising design program, and they did like they did different nights to talk about the different programs. And so my friend and coworker Brandon Henderson and I went to that, and my mind was blown that I didn't really know that was a job. Mm-hmm. And they showed a bunch of work that graduates had done, and I think that was probably the moment where I was like, wow, that seems cool. So I went from sort of focusing on web design to just thinking about advertising generally. And that was an undergraduate program. It doesn't work this way anymore, but it had a crazy thing. I might get the numbers wrong, but they led in. So you had to do your whole freshman year was art program, fundamentals, illustration, 2D design, things like that. And then you created a portfolio to get in school, the advertising and design program, and they accepted 34 kids. And then the crazy thing was their junior year, you had to apply again. to get in your junior year, and they cut it from 34 to 17.
Ooh.
So it was this like really like high pressure thing that kind of kicked my ass as a teenager.
So then when you're applying for the first round, the second round, you're creating a portfolio. Like, okay, so spec work.
Yep,
that's great.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to get in because I don't know what I would have done with myself.
And your spec work there, you were working. You said you had a buddy,
Brandon Henderson.
Brandon.
So he runs our New York office, and he and I were we had actually gone to high school together, and we were in the program together. Well, it's like you and Jack.
Yeah.
And we were in the program together, and then by the time the senior year came around, we started to realize that like the way the business was at the time was it was a pre-dot-com bubble. And so agencies were getting huge because these .com companies had a lot of VC funding, and the way that they were kind of legitimizing themselves as businesses was to have robust marketing. So like that Fast Company magazine used to be like every issue was like a phone book. It was insane because there were so many ads. So agencies were hiring. They had gotten to the point where they were hiring so many people that they were just hiring teams versus individuals and pairing them. They didn't want to deal with like chemistry and sorting through that. So Brandon and I were like, oh, we should probably be a team. We had a lot of people be like, like, you're not going to get a job as a solo person again at the time. I don't know if that's true anymore, but we were both in school for art direction, but we became a team that kind of became like Frankenstein together. Yeah. A book out of like us kind of writing copy and us kind of art directing.
Yeah. But you guys were both leaning on the art direction route.
Yes.
Got it. So that's so great that you had your partner in crime so early on, and you guys are still working together.
Yes.
That's incredible. And you're building this portfolio, and if you look back at it, do you think it was okay for spec work at the time?
So I, with this great professor, Bill Deering, and he was the photography professor, and he got me an internship with some graduates at Mother London.
Fantastic.
Right when it started.
Wow.
And so I went there. I worked for Franklin Tipton. He and his wife, Libby Brokoff, run Odysseus Arms in San Francisco now. Yeah. And I remember he took me out to coffee one day, and he was like, hey, so your portfolio is terrible, right? And I was like, what? No, I think it's pretty good. It got me my internship here at Mother London.
Have a latte. Your portfolio, not very good.
And he's like, we got to start this whole thing over. He's like, you should formalize a partnership with Brandon. You guys should work together. I will give you briefs. I'll show you work. And he like saved our lives. Like, so I was trying to come up with a new campaign like every week, and we would send it to him and get his feedback. And ultimately we used there was actually a really good alumni network at Delaware where you could just reach out to people and email them. So Brand and I would work on stuff all day, then email a handful of people to get feedback, and then would address the things at night and send them to people again.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you had that moment where this creative director scolded you or told you that your portfolio wasn't good, and then you went back to work and you realized like creating spec work and having good briefs was so important and being consistent about it. Do you feel like the week time frame was too short? Would you have, if you looking back now, like what would you tell yourself about your portfolio? Like how would you approach it?
That it worked well. I was fortunate enough that my parents let me take a lot of like winter sessions. And so I had heading into my last semester of senior year, I didn't have that many classes because I only needed a few more credits to graduate.
So you can work a little bit more on the portfolio.
So Brandon and I kind of pretended to have jobs, easy jobs, I think, in hindsight. But I think we showed up to the studio because there was a whole art studio, and we'd show up at like 11. Yes. Work for a couple hours, then like go get hot dogs or cheesesteaks for lunch, and then work again until like 5:30.
Yeah,
and call it a day. And I think that like, and then we had classes. The classes were long. We had like a few 3-hour night classes that were like 7 to 10 during the week. And yeah, that structure. And we were good about being like, I think our thing was we came up every 2 weeks, we tried to come up with 3 campaigns. Now, campaigns back then were way easier because it was just like 3 print ads.
Yeah.
So it was very different. Like
not today. Now you need like on a spec campaign, you need like 6 to 8 deliverables. You need to have a partnership, like out of home. You have to have like some form of like digital, like you have to kind of like show all these different routes now in spec work. And like actually I've seen some universities where they're like shooting. Like Ellie over here, our producer, like was like producing ads for people like in her ad club, and like it's like good stuff.
Yeah,
like, that
it's
they're
wild.
making.
No, it's really impressive. But conversely, there were some like technical challenges at the time that didn't exist now. Like for instance, to like print something took hours.
Sure.
And so you'd print something and it would come out and it'd be like all purple, and you're like, oh crap,
and that costs you probably some money.
Yes,
as a college student, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
So you're building this portfolio now, and that internship really kind of got you in the right direction. Just because you get an internship doesn't mean you're secured for a full-time job in the future. This is not the finance industry or investment banking where you start off your sophomore year, you intern, and then you get a return offer, and then you get a full-time job offer. I know some people that have had the same job for like 7 years, and they're like a couple years out of college.
Totally.
So it's a little bit different here. It's that pressure to have that good portfolio, but you did everything right. You found your creative partner, you went back to work, you found briefs, and you had a schedule and you stayed consistent. I love the idea of like the aspiring advertiser today, like going into an empty classroom with their creative partner. Bring a strategist in there too, art director, copywriter, strategist, and find those briefs, have the strategist write the briefs, do the Crowbar Award briefs that we put out, and just tackle them. Drink some like caffeinated beverages and do it, or whatever else you like to consume to get you creative.
Yes.
And like that to me is like, I romanticize that. And like, I think that is so fun. And I'm sure you wish you can go back to that time where it's like, there's no budgets, there's no restraints on you.
Yeah, we tried to like I think you get made fun of when you say this now because people are like, really, dude? But like often I'm like, you just try to have fun with it. And like I know that's like that's a cliche, but like if you're not having some semblance of fun in this business, you're like, there's no reason to do it.
Yeah.
And so we tried to figure out how to like have a good time with everything, and that went from like how we reached out to people, how we got in the door at places, how we thank people. We're always trying to think of like subversive, fun ways. Like I remember, I know you've had some guests talk about Mad Dogs and Englishmen.
Oh yeah,
and that was like the place that you wanted to work at the time, and we just like couldn't get an interview there, and so we found out who the admin of one of the CDs was.
Smart.
And we sent her like a huge bouquet of flowers to be like, please let us get an interview.
Yeah. No, that's a great strategy. It's still like the executive assistants of these like creative directors and these like high up people. They're the foot in the door.
Yeah.
So it's still a good strategy.
And we found that there was a Kmart by us that sold these, I think they were like $5.99. They're like these $6 action figures. They're called something like Superheroes of History. And so it'd be like a Ben Franklin toy.
Cool.
They're kind of like G.I. Joe, like the big G.I. Joes. And we found those for like, they were like $6. We found out how to ship them for like $4. And so we would handwrite thank you notes that were like, thank you so much for meeting with us. Like, we thought you'd appreciate, I forget the writing, but like, thought you'd appreciate this, this superhero of history, Thomas Jefferson, who, helped create America's financial system, and, would have a little blurb on him. And then what was funny is like, we probably bought like 30 of those things, and they just started being in people's offices. And so people would come in and they're like, what is that? And they'd be like, oh, these two weirdos in Delaware sent it to us.
That's somebody. It didn't even connect to like advertising. Like
no, it was.
You just thought you would enjoy this.
Yeah, just because it was what we could afford.
Yeah.
But
it goes. Yeah, and then they kept it, and then you stood out. So how did you get that first full-time job? Then was it the portfolio was looking good, a stunt of some sort? Tell me how you landed that full-time.
My memory is a little foggy. I had to move home, which was humiliating. Because my mom would just lay out classifieds on the table every morning.
No.
Circle like what she thought would be a good job for me, and we did end up getting a job offer at Mad Dogs and Englishmen, but it was unpaid, And we just couldn't figure out how to swing it. My brother lived in Weehawken, New Jersey. My sister lived in the East Village. And so we were kind of alternating between sleeping on his couch and like a lounge chair. And she had a fold out bed, which was great. So, but we were like, I can't afford to live here. I can't afford to do that. And I had a lot of people be like, hey, like if a company is going to hire you and not pay you, that's not the kind of company you want to work for. I thought that was an interesting perspective. And I think we've changed that over time now. We try to not have unpaid.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't hear a lot of that going on.
Yeah. That was a lot of it at the time. So we declined that. That was a bummer to decline, but we had to. And
so you were just going through the mental scenario of how it could play out.
Yes. Yeah. Because we were up in New York a lot, trying to get interviews and trying to meet.
And for context, that was a really hot shop.
Yes.
And I believe it's Walrus now.
Okay.
Like the founders like bought it, like Frances Webster and her husband Deacon bought it, and now it's like, I'm sure it's like different. It's all different leadership, but like we have an episode that talks about it a little bit. But like Hall of Fame shop, some people might say actually maybe you should have taken that risk, like because that was a really good shop, and like that opportunity was.
Yeah, it wasn't really feasible. So It wasn't really a risk. It would have just been like my sister had been like, get out of my apartment.
Yeah. Where did she live in the East Village? Do you remember?
I think it was around like 13th Street.
Okay, that's where Ellie lives, and that's where we're on 12th. Yeah,
great. Yeah, it was a great, cool spot. So then we couldn't take that, and then we got a temp job at a small agency called Holland Advertising, which was in Soho. We got that through a headhunter. Nancy Temkin, who was super patient with us because we were emailing her like twice a day, being like, Nancy, you got anything? Nancy, any jobs? Mm-hmm. And so we temped there for a few weeks, and then they hired us. Fantastic.
And then art director, and your partner was also an art director.
Yeah, just this hybrid team drove some people crazy because they were like, wait, who does what? And we're like, oh, well, what was funny was our deal was like, if you came up with it, you got to be the copywriter. And that meant if you didn't come up with the thing, you had to be the art director, and neither of us really liked art directing. So that was like the way we had it work.
Okay. That's fun.
Yeah.
I got it. That's a very healthy system too. I mean, you had that clarity there, so that makes sense.
And that place was crazy. The guy we worked for would like make us do push-ups, which was crazy.
It sounds like a breaking and entering office environment.
No, that's
wait. Like
don't do that. It wasn't great.
For punishment, or if you're late to a meeting,
just to do them. Because he was like a fitness guy, so he was like, all right, guys, put like push up time.
I love that. 5-minute exercise. We used to do that at Havas, Chicago, but it was like touch your toes or like wiggle your toes, and like these like not really hard exercises, but I used to mandate those.
Okay, all right. That's more like health conscious than bullying. Yeah. I think that's okay.
Yeah. Not everybody had to do it, but I peer pressured some people to do it.
That's fair.
We don't do that today.
I feel like I really touched a nerve with this one.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So advice then, let's say your daughter wants to break into advertising. She's about to go to college. What are you telling her? Like, what's the right way to do this in 2025? Like, knowing all the stuff that you know and you care about her. It doesn't have to be for Wieden, but just like you want to be an art director, copywriter, strategist in advertising today.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing is having a really strong point of view and perspective, and being a interesting person that has a lot of interest in the world, and being really prolific. So all the things that you can show and all the things you can do to demonstrate that, I think will be really helpful to be like, oh, we like to hire like people with strong opinions, people with like takes on things. Like anytime you're in like an elevator at Wieden, like there will be debate. There'll be conversation about like where you went to lunch, what like pair of Nikes you're wearing, like what shirt you chose to wear that day. And the people that do the best there are the people that have like really strong and interesting perspectives on absolutely everything.
Got it. So develop that POV? How do you even do that? Is it just like following all these different accounts on social media today? Is it like reading up? Is it traveling? Like, is there a formula maybe that some people that you know within the office that embody this, like how did they develop a POV?
Yeah, it's usually people who aren't super immersed in advertising, to be honest. It's people who are like really into literature, really into art, or really into film. And because you kind of get like, you're going to get the advertising thing just by like osmosis.
Mm-hmm.
And what we really want are people that like come at it thinking about it in a really different way. So we've hired, again, like we mentioned, we've hired lawyers, we've hired comedians, try to hire people that just have something really interesting to say.
Yeah.
And so whatever you can do to like foster that at that age is super helpful.
So would you tell somebody to not study advertising then? As a degree, because they have that, or marketing?
I think I definitely wouldn't say that by any means. I just would say like, don't make that everything.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like when you hear about a professional athlete that they take dance class, right? And they don't just take like football class, like
right.
So you gotta like, I don't know if football class is even a thing. I don't know if that's
extra practice, whatever. Yeah.
But like you want to have like a really wide body of experience. I think that's why Delaware was helpful to me, because it was in the fine arts program.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a lot of time going to museums and learning about artists and like learning about crazy stuff like Craymaster and just like, Matthew Barney, or just like, man, this is nuts. And I think that was actually really helpful, as opposed to having like an encyclopedic knowledge of like the one show annuals.
Gotcha.
But like, you kind of need to do, I guess I would say it's like helpful to do both.
Yeah.
You know, because you also kind of need to kind of understand a little bit about like communications and marketing. You can't like, you can't just be like I don't even know what the job would be, but like you have to have some tethering to like what we actually do as a profession. Like I remember we hired this DJ, and they brought them in for a review to look at their work. And so they come in, they sit down, and they say the CDs, there's a bunch of work on the wall, and they say to the CDs, so how's this work? Do I tell you what I think about that stuff? They're like, no, you bring in stuff to show us, and then we tell you what we think about. But they're a DJ, they didn't have any idea how it worked.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have let the DJ talk about the work.
Yeah, probably been pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, got it. That's helpful. It's like a balance of like having taste about this industry, but then also being knowledgeable outside of it too. And if you're listening and you're just like a super mega ad nerd, then you come work with us on the Break Entering team. Great, that's what we love that. So, all right. So tell me about the best advice for those working in advertising in their 20s.
I would say one thing that probably isn't super popular, but like you just have to work hard, because it's just not very good.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're doing. So you have to at least have a large volume of work that at least someone can look through and be like, all right, you wrote 100 things, but like 95 of them are terrible. So you just have to work a lot. And like I had to learn, I kind of learned in layers what hard work was. Like my first job was at a like kind of like a Whole Foods type market kitchen. And like, I didn't know what I was doing. I remember the person there was like, go get the Clorox. And I went into the back room and I came back. I was like, there's no Clorox. And she's like, Clorox is bleach, you idiot. Like, just get bleach. And I was like, what's bleach? What does bleach do? So like, I had to learn like how to mop floors and prep food and wait on customers and all that stuff. So that was kind of like the first like unlock of like learning what hard work was. Then college was kind of another thing. And then these jobs were, I thought of them as a more like a 9-to-5 thing. Like it was like, oh, well, this is 5:30. We got to get out of here. And this is like not how advertising works for young people. And over time, we kind of figured out some hacks. Like one of the first places we worked, we figured out if you work past 8, you could expense dinner. And if you work past 9, you could expense a car.
Oh, nice.
And like we lived in Jersey. So it was like, took like maybe 45 minutes to get home, maybe an hour. Sometimes the later it was at night. So we actually realized like I could kind of get home around the same time, but I will have had dinner paid for and I will have gotten car service.
Yeah.
And so then we started kind of seeing like, oh, okay. And actually like working longer hours, you get more work. Over time, you don't need to work long hours. Just those first few years, I feel like it's like a kind of an investment in yourself to get faster and better.
Yeah.
And then you can work really efficiently as you get older. So I'd say that was the first thing of like just figuring out how to work hard and how to not make it like terrible, how to get some free dinners and stuff out of it. We worked at a agency called Denoto Lee, and one of the accounts they had was Ruffino, the wines,
mm-hmm.
and Ruffino makes like a $35 bottle of Ruffino. It's like their fancy.
That's nice.
One. Yeah, and we would anytime they made us work like past like midnight, we would steal a bottle. That was our reward to ourselves.
There you go. A little internal reward. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually remember one time someone interning from us took toilet paper from the bathroom because he couldn't afford toilet paper. So he took like that big industrial roll.
Yeah, that's
and he
good
was like
stuff.
walking out with it. And
just
like,
the half ply.
Yeah. Yeah. Not the best stuff.
Yeah.
So I think like figuring out how to work hard and kind of figuring out how to like hack the system was important. It's helpful being in a place like New York because you can move around. No one wants to pay you anything. So like as you're trying to increase your pay, you can do that by like hopping from agency to agency. So I worked at a bunch of different places actually between 21 and like 24, I think. And then I ended up at what's now Havas. At the time it was called funny name,
Euro RSC.
Even pre that.
What, really?
Yeah, you could when the people would call the receptionists because they thought it was funny because receptionists had to say Mesner, Viteri, Berger, McNamee, Schmitter and Partners.
That's crazy. I've never heard that ever.
Yeah, and then it became Euro RSCG, MVBMS and Partners. Then it became Euro RSCG, and then it became Havas. So like I worked at the same company, but it just kept like kind of changing what it was.
Which is why you care so much about agency branding today with Wieden.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. I'm just unlocking that for you.
Yeah, thank you. And then I'd say the biggest unlock for me was at Euro. We started on Volvo Retail. We were a team for the Volvo Retail Group. And that was doing everything from like billboards with like pithy headlines to like laying out dealer tags, like the thing at the end of the ad that shows the big price and has all the legal copy.
Yeah.
Working like long hours trying to fit all that stuff into that thing. And then that part of the agency was brought into the larger Euro RSCG thing, and we ended up kind of lucking into working for Jeff Kling. And he had been at Wieden Amsterdam, moved him and his family to New York. And so all of a sudden we're working for this like incredible creative. And we were having a hard time because we were kind of like ad nerds, like making addy stuff. And we were working on New Balance basketball. And we had a bunch of kind of like addy things and showed to him, and he was like, nah, like, because he'd been at Wieden working on Nike. Like his standards were just different than what we were exposed to at the time. And we had a really bad review with him, didn't like anything. And like, I was kind of embarrassed. At the time, I wrote a basketball newsletter for my friends. And I printed out copies of that and left on his desk to be like, hey, I do know about basketball. I might probably just suck at advertising. And he like came in the room. I remember he was shaking them and he's like, dude, like just do this. And I was like, what? He's like, just do this, but for New Balance. Like just talk about basketball, but for New Balance. And I was like, oh. And that was like the unlock to be like, I don't need to make ads. I just need to say something interesting or say something true or say like have an interesting point of view on the sport versus trying to figure out how to make a clever ad.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a huge unlock for me, realizing that like I worked for Mark Fitzloff and he had this expression of like bending the brief to your will. I thought it was funny. And but that's kind of what you're doing. You're trying to like bend the assignment to something really personal to you that you know. And over time, you have to kind of expand what's personal to you. And hopefully, as you grow as a person, there'll become more things. But early on, like I found it pretty easy to work on like sports or beer, because I was like, those were things I knew. And when we got the Dos Equis brief, it was the brief was that young men, it was really interesting insight that young men are really insecure and that they're constantly using signals to try to show that they're more interesting. And the beer industry at the time was really like mass, like most their craft beers were still like an emerging thing, but people were using craft beers and imports to like kind of show off, to show they were more interesting. And they realized that like if when someone was ordering at a bar, they use it almost as a badge to be like, hey, look how interesting. I don't just drink whatever brand X. I drink this interesting import. And that was a fun assignment because like I found myself profoundly uninteresting. Like I was like, I'm like the least interesting dude in the planet. Like my wife and I have been together since high school. We like lived in Hoboken. I like loved going to like Chili's. I'm a big, a weekend for me is like, I'm going to go to the mall.
That's nice. That's a good life.
Yeah. Like I'm not interesting. Like didn't really travel. I'm scared of flying. And so what we were able to do was like, normally you'd be like, well, how am I going to work on this thing that's all about being cool and interesting? But instead we were like, oh, like, well, what if we invent this person who's like the exact opposite of me?
Yeah.
And then the exact opposite of my partner at the time, Brandon. And so we thought about like everything we hated about ourselves or we're embarrassed about ourselves. He just did the opposite.
Right.
And so over time, like I just started to learn like, oh, there's almost always something like really personal that you can tap into. And then what's cool is if it's personal, then it's like, it's true. It's not like it's not something that you've invented out of thin air. It's like a real thing. And then usually that real thing has emotional heft. And that's how I've been working ever since. And I think that's what hopefully we try to, everyone at Wieden tries to do.
That was was that the big unlock of your career to get you like to your next jobs and all that? Like,
yeah, it was like hey, stop making ads, start trying to get to really true and interesting things.
I love that. Karl, that's a great story. I mean, we talk about that. I mean, I learned about that in college, like that campaign, listen to the Tagline episode with Tim Nudd when he was at Muse by Cleo. I mean, that is an inspiration. It's a case study that, thousands of aspiring advertising professionals are looking at and like writing about and studying. So I think it's so amazing that you're a part of that and you've influenced so many people.
That's cool to hear because I was in a meeting recently and someone was like, these guys did the Dos Equis most interesting. Man, it was a bunch of young people and they all just stared at us. We were like, no one knows what that is anymore. I need a new reference point.
Oh, really? They don't know what it is anymore?
Well, maybe they weren't marketing students, but they did. Yeah, culturally, I think it's, yeah.
I mean, I use that as an example, like when I was bringing in like college students to Havas, Chicago, and I didn't even realize that you were kind of working for Havas when you were doing that. I just connected that when I was talking to Jeff Kling.
Yep.
And it's just so simple, like the talking points of that. And I would like to be the strategy team, the researchers that came up with that insight.
It was an awesome strategy. And I think like early on,
because I'm sure they went to the bars.
Oh yeah, Caroline Wellman was the planner, and she's excellent. And I think that's the other thing that like, yeah, you really got to rely on those people and trust in them because those things they bring are super interesting. I remember another. This would be a thing that I would say I wish I had learned. Don't be so pessimistic. Mm-hmm. I get it. We're like a cynical group of people, but man, I wish I had been more optimistic and more up for things in my youth. I think I wasted a lot of energy like pushing back on stuff or being like, that sucks.
And you're referring to briefs, like creative briefs?
Yeah, like so that Dos Equis one, we were like, this is like young men aren't like this. Like we don't try to show off with beer,
Yeah.
Like so
skeptical.
I wish I had just been like, yeah, right, that makes sense. I can imagine people doing that. Or like P&G, the mom's work. I remember being like, we gotta sell stuff to moms during the Olympics. That doesn't feel that cool. And that was like probably the greatest opportunity I've had in my career. But like, I wish I eventually did get through that cynicism, but I do remember being like a jerk in the briefing because I worked on Nike and I was like, I don't want to work on this. I want to make Nike football ads. And And little did I know that it would like change my life, and it would be a thing that would get me my job as a creative director and go on to be a really, really great thing to work on. So I'm always a little embarrassed that like I was so cynical.
Yeah. Yeah. But you got through it, and you're sharing that wisdom with all of us now. So I really do appreciate that. And you're doing amazing things. And I can't wait to keep on watching Wieden make all the accolades and all the great work. Maybe another Super Bowl ad this year. I mean, you guys had like 4 or 5. Like, seems like you guys have like 6 every year.
I know, it's too many.
Don't quote me on that.
Too many.
But we're pumped for that. But thank you so much for coming in. How can people say hello to you if they have a portfolio done, want to reach out to you? What's the best route to do this?
Yeah, I would say the balance in communicating with people and getting a job is like balancing the fine line between being persistent and being annoying.
Yep.
You can be more annoying with me because I'm not great at email. So first name dot last name at wk.com or LinkedIn. I do read the notes.
Yeah.
And if you send me a note, versus just like, I don't know, was it called friending? I don't even know what it's called. Connecting.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
if you send me a note, I do try to write back to that. I had a lot of people help me in my early days of career. A lot of alumni of University of Delaware give me time and help me get to where I got. And so I always feel an obligation to do the same. So if you reach out to me, I don't write back, just write me back again, bump it to the top of the thing.
And you got those amazing programs too. They should apply to all those. We talked about those earlier in the episode. So you should all be in a better spot now. So appreciate you, Karl.
Appreciate you all, and love what you're doing here. It's really fun.
Thank you, sir. Boom.